So I'm out here today having a first look at the Pentax 645. Now that's a medium format SLR type camera. It shoots 6 by 4.5 negatives on 120 film, which is just over 2 times the size of a 35mm negative. There's 3 types of this camera. There's the 645, which is the original, which is what I've got. There's the 645N and the 645N2. I'll go into the differences between those a bit later in the video, but yeah, I've got the original, which is a lot cheaper than the other models. In terms of lenses, I've gone for the 75mm f2.8. So that's kind of a middle of the road lens. It equates to 45mm on 35mm, so it's a fairly normal lens. You can get quite a wide variety of lenses for this camera, and really this is kind of the one I wanted to go for because it's closest to 50mm, which is what I regularly shoot. We're on our 7th image currently out of 15. I've got another roll, but I might just do 1 roll for this video generally. The weather is terrible, so I'm just trying to create some interesting scenarios out of what I've got. I'm going to a completely new place, I've never been here before. So yeah, I've got some interesting things so far. So here I am at 2 or 3 a.m. as per usual, giving my thoughts on a camera. Now, with analog cameras, there isn't kind of that, you know, Pentax is going to come for me type of thing. But even then, I really cannot think of that many negative things about this camera. It's just wonderful. Honestly, it's such a wonderful camera. But obviously there are some cons to this and some great pros as well. So I'm going to talk you through my experience just shooting with it for the first time, and later on I'll do a full review of this camera as well too. So I think the number one thing that really kind of stands out about this camera is the lens. Such a good lens, honestly. It's an absolutely beautiful lens. Goes all the way down to f2.8, is it? Yep, goes all the way down to f2.8 as well, which is just pretty damn good, even for a medium format camera. The images were just amazing out of it. I didn't shoot above, well, I don't think I really shot above f5.6. I may have shot one image on f8 just because it was super overcast. But even then, all of the images looked pretty sharp and not that soft. So this then leads me on to the other thing relating to this, which is the viewfinder. Viewfinder is huge, it's fantastic to look through, and you can get your focus so easily with this camera. There is this, I'll show you here, this little thing here, which you flip, and I can't remember what it's called. What is it called? You can basically use that to help you find, it's a depth of field preview, I think. Depth of field preview, that's it. I'm pretty sure. I couldn't really kind of work it out, but I was just doing it from the lens itself and got all of my focus right. But I guess a depth of field preview is basically, I'm guessing the camera is just manually set to f2.8 no matter what it looks at, and that just gives you a bit of a preview as to what your depth of field actually is. But I have no problem focusing with this camera. I mean, it's an SLR, and yeah, in terms of the viewfinder, although it is massive, it is a bit on the dim side. That's nothing compared to some other cameras I've tried, but it's just something to look out for, and it's something everyone says about this camera is the viewfinder is pretty dim. Although at night time you saw I did some night shoot stuff, it was fine. I could see what was in there okay, so I have no complaints really. Now, general holding this camera and stuff, the grip is great, it's fantastic. It's just so easy to do this, and it's easy to grip onto really. It's heavy, it is built like a tank. I mean, I had this camera out there you saw in sub-zero temperatures and it was still shooting fine, and my video camera that I got, the GH2, actually died on that shoot. I don't think it was from the temperature, but I feel like it might be from the temperature. Either way, this still held up like a beast. If you drop this, it's probably going to be fine. It is built like a tank. Another thing about this as well is if you get a good strap for it, I've got the Optech strap, which is on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description to that. You can get like Peak Design straps as well, but they're kind of more on the expensive side, but I couldn't feel this around my neck at all with this. It has a nice big padded foam thing that goes around my neck, and I couldn't feel it at all when walking with this huge heavy camera. Obviously, when I'm holding it up, I can feel it a little bit, and portrait implementation like this isn't that great because all the weight is resting on your hand there. I guess you could do it. No, that wouldn't really work very well. It's kind of a bit... It's bulky, but the grip just helps a load. So now I'm going to talk about some of the cons of this camera. That kind of leads me on to the other models as well. So the cons of this camera in my eyes is the fact that it's just little buttons on it and a screen. In terms of analog experience, that's kind of not what I'm here for. I'm here for, you know, nice dials and analog looking stuff, but they were very ahead of their time in terms of trying to design this. Will I get rid of the camera because of this? Absolutely not. Will I go and get the other models which actually do have dials on, such as the 645N, 645N2? No, it doesn't bug me that much. It's just aesthetically it's not as fun to dial in your shutter speed with this. Aperture's still here. unless you choose the automatic aperture, and then it will choose the aperture for you, which also leads me on to the various modes in this camera, which I didn't try out just because I don't really like doing that sort of thing on film cameras. I like to shoot the straight manual, but it has a auto mode where it just does everything for you. It has an aperture priority mode, and I think it might have a shutter priority mode as well. You may have to correct me on that. Yeah, there's basically loads of stuff that I haven't really looked at in this camera that it can do. It can do it all basically, but I just wanted this camera to shoot manually. But the light meter is something I'm going to talk about that is actually a great pro of this camera. The light meter is fantastic. It's super accurate. As you saw in the video, I was testing it with my spot meter, and yeah, brilliant. I tested it for 2 shots, and then the rest of the shoot I just did everything with this. It's such a great light meter. The only problem that some people might not like about it is it only does it in full stops. It doesn't do it in, like, you know, half stops, so you only see when it's metered for within a full stop. It just says okay within the viewfinder, and it just says like 1 or -2 or something. I can't remember what exactly it says. Hang on, let's have a check actually. Yeah, so it just says minus or plus, but again, it's super accurate. You can also adjust EV in there. I mean, you set your ISO in the camera as well with those little buttons, and the on and off switch doesn't really do anything. The only thing it does do is stop the shutter button from actually taking a photo, which I guess is kind of handy really, but I prefer it to actually just turn the camera straight off, because now I have a roll in there, and something that I'm not sure about is that I've got batteries in there, and I want to take the batteries out, so I'm not just leaving it in there until the next time I shoot with it, but it's just constantly on, and so yeah, I don't know if you can take batteries out whilst there's a roll in the camera. It might reset your shutter counter. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it might not, but again, I'm not going to risk that. But one of the cons is that the little screen is just on all the time. But in between rolls, I think I'll just take the battery compartment out completely, just so there's no rust or anything going on there. And in terms of loading this camera, actually, it's pretty easy. The back comes off, as you can see in the video, and you just slot the film in, slide it across, pop the end in the other bit, and wind it until the mark says, and on the film there'll be like a start point. Super easy to load, and then all you do is pop it in the camera. I think you then press the on button, and then you just set your ISO as well, and then just click the shutter down, and vroom, off it goes. It's a super noisy camera. I believe it is the same on the other models of camera as well, so no matter what model you'll get, this is an auto winding camera, which is, I guess, kind of handy. I mean, it was for wedding photographers, and having to wind your camera in between moments you might miss one. So I don't really care that much about it. I mean, part of the analog experience for me is doing all of that, but because this camera is just so great and the results out of it are so great, yeah, it's just pretty fun to use. Now, this camera takes 16 photos, but I found that my one only took 14, and then half of the frame of the 15th image cut off. I'm not sure if that was a me problem in self-developing it, or if that's a camera problem. I guess I will see next time. So really, this is just an absolute tank, a workhorse camera. I can see why for wedding photographers or amateur wedding photographers, because it's just built to last, and it's built for you to go out and shoot photos super quickly. And yeah, I would recommend anyone interested in medium format photography, looking at spending a decent amount of money on a camera and getting some decent results. This is one of the best budget options. I mean, I know I did a budget option video about a £50 medium format camera, which takes square images, but if you're really looking to push your content, and you're really looking to get that nice crispy medium format negative, then this is definitely one to go for. Obviously, it's 6 by 4.5, so it's the smallest medium format negative you can get, but compared to 35, it blows it out of the water really, based on the amount of resolution you can just grab from that. I'm using a flatbed anyway, and flatbeds aren't that great for 35mm. It's good enough for me, but this just gives me even more reason why this is the camera I want to shoot with from now on. if you're on a similar budget to me where you don't have a lot of money to spend on a camera that expensive, and you've chosen film photography because it's not that much of an upfront cost, it's more of a, you know, a steady, this is the film I buy each month for my camera, only cost me like 200 odd quid. So I think literally for the foreseeable future, this is the main and probably one of the only cameras I'm going to really shoot my stuff with, just because it's just so great and it's everything I need in a camera really. And then obviously if I need to go to 35 for something easier to hold, I'll be choosing a 35 camera, and I also have a square format camera if I ever need to do that, which is very rare, but they're really cool. So there's really not that much to say. It's simple, it's just a great camera. And as I said in the video, the original 645 is a lot cheaper than the others, and the only major difference is, well, this buttons as opposed to dials. And honestly, that's kind of more of an aesthetic thing, even though you are actually doing it. It's once you're doing it, you're not really thinking that much anyway. So I definitely, yeah, this is definitely a camera to go for if you're looking at a 645 camera. Just something I thought of quickly, because I do a lot of night photography, and I did some night photography on this, even though they were just some kind of portrait images. You can't really check the meter on this camera when you've got a shutter release threaded into it, because the way you generally check the exposure is you obviously click the on button and then you kind of half press and then it comes up. And you can turn the LED off completely if you don't want it on, but if you press LED, it also shows up apparently. I haven't tried that actually. I just pressed LED there without pressing the shutter, and then the meter came up. So maybe that's a way around it. But as I was saying, the way I was checking the meter was half pressing the shutter, and then it would show me the meter. But I just pressed the LED button and it came up. But I pressed the LED button before and nothing happened. So maybe that's a way around that. And just in case anyone's wondering how this camera unloads film, it does it for you. So when you get to the end of the roll and you press the button, it winds it back in. I also really love the fact that this camera kind of forces you into landscape mode. I am such a sucker for just shooting everything in portrait, even when it makes no real sense. So I love how this camera has made me think more about doing this, because it's just way more comfortable and it's how the camera naturally is than going like that. So that's just something I love about the ergonomics of the camera, and it is just so great to hold, really. I haven't tried a Pentax 6.7, but this is absolutely probably on par with that really, because it's Pentax and they've made a hell of a camera here. So no matter which one you're getting, I would recommend getting a Pentax 645, and in particular if you're looking for one for cheap, 100% go for it. I mean, I got mine from eBay, I think from Japan. I got the lens and the camera separately, hoping it would be cheaper, and it turned out more expensive because that meant £100 in tax, because it was imported into the country and it was more expensive, which I didn't think about. But yeah, generally they will always come from Japan, so just take into account shipping tax, not shipping tax, import tax and stuff like that. Although you may get really, really lucky and someone in your country may just have one. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe for more film photography content, whether it's videos like this or videos where I go out and look at film stocks, or videos on developing, you name it. I'm going to be trying it all. The next kind of camera-y kind of video is, it's on reverse on the screen, is that camera there, which is £30 and it's a medium format camera and it shoots square pictures. So it's even cheaper than my last one, but it is zone focusing, so you don't really know your focus. But until the next video, which I think is about developing actually, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone that subscribed, liked and commented. It means so much to me. And I will see you in the next one.